Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first in a series of online artist talks with artists presenting their works at the Niezaspokojony Głód Endless Hunger exhibition. My name is Karolina Raczyńska, and I will be talking to Cesare Ceballos. He is a Las Vegas-based artist, architect, word traveler, environmental activist, yoga practitioner, and an advocate for change, and a really interesting person. Wirtualne Muzeum Antropocenu features his humorous Eat Over Spotlight collage at the Niezaspokojony Głód Endless Hunger exhibition. During this online event, we will discuss Cesare's exhibited artwork and his artistic practice in the context of the Anthropocene, consumerism, and environment. Hello.
Hello.
It's fantastic to see you.
Well, thank you, Carolina. And we're the group WMA. I mean, it's a very important segment in our society today to take a pause and be an activist and advocacy to change, the right way to change.
Great.
Through art.
So let's start with a little bit of intro, and then let's go to questions, and then we can make it wonderful, make it happen. Okay, the exhibition that features your artwork, Niezaspokojony Głód Endless Hunger, has been open to the public for over 4 weeks, which is quite a long time, right? And now we are eager to talk to you about your artwork, your artistic practice, art in relation to consumerism, environment, the Anthropocene, obviously. So let's start with the artwork that's featured, Eat Over Spotlight. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, first of all, it's an artwork inspired by humor, together with advocacy, and I believe the power of art. And one important component, being consistent with the theme, so I applied the use of materials of my artwork based on the food that I bought, not all of it, but to introduce humor. So it's a recycled products of packaging of the food I ate, together with the one I get in the mail.
You get in the mail? Food packaging?
Yes, the advertisement for the mail.
Okay.
We get a lot of advertisements, for promotions that, the consumer has to buy more to save more money. But it's not really saving the world. It's just saving the money momentarily.
So there's lots of paper in use, right? Like,
a lot of paper. I've used one of the papers that it was used for wrapping fish. I did cut out the price, and if you look at the artwork, I was being consistent on what it was real. Meaning, what's real, meaning it's almost like journalism of commercialism.
Yeah.
And also there were prices due to economic substance of the art. The question is, would you buy one thing because it's cheap, even though you don't need it, and you sacrifice the quality? So it's a sort of an evolving art to experiment how it will catch humor with the commercialism.
Yeah. So how does your artistic practice in general, because apart from this artwork, you obviously make more, right?
I make, yes.
Yeah. So in general, your artistic practice, how does it relate to consumerism? Is it because, consumer is part of our life, whether we like it or not? We are consumers. We consume, we take, we get, we eat and eat and eat. There's this endless hunger in us. How does your practice in general relate to it?
I think the practice evolves in behavior, the science of behavior and evolution and technology, which means that what we have is what we will buy. What we don't see, we probably won't have anything to buy. I think the two components was important are really a driving force is the reaction and the awareness. Meaning, as a consumer, we react because it's cheap, so we buy more without thinking the casualty or the impact to the environment. So it becomes the behavior. And technology, together with the iPhones and telephones, changes our behavior.
Yeah.
And this is probably one of the best way to advertise food. That's that's my short version of my inspiration. But I think humor in context is very important because humor drives the connection to the viewer. It's very important. It's like entertainment. And that's my concept of my artwork, is to introduce humor, which is not easy at many times. But at the same time, by accident, I'm successful to sense the humor into the artwork through my skills. Thank you. Sorry for the long answer.
No, it's a beautiful answer, and this is what we're looking for, right? Because we see the artwork, and it resonates with us. Somehow we find ourselves in it, but then if we know what's driving the artist to create it, it gives us more information. It creates a wider context, I suppose, right?
Yeah, yes. Again, it goes back to the behavior. I think everybody eats. So it's part of course creation. So everybody eats, and then also there's something of curiosity on the artwork and messages. So the viewer will look closer to the artwork out of curiosity. And I think the trick is to get humor into the connection to the viewer and the artist.
Yeah, I agree totally. I do totally agree because, your artwork is a little bit scary. This whole process of vicious circle of consuming and consuming, not even eating. There's no joy in it, right? But it's so funny at the same time because we all sometimes do it. It's amazing. I really like it.
Thank you. I think uh, as the person or the viewer gets closer to the artwork,
Yeah.
it becomes more serious. And this is where the awareness comes in to think the impact in the environment as a whole.
As a whole.
And I think it's a conspiracy of economic nature to make more money for the investors, for the manufacturers. It gives jobs to people, but at the same time, it's more for profit to make more money, to eat more. And then the effect is also our health. It's a conspiracy because once you eat more of non-quality food, people will get sick.
Yeah, but there's been this movement because we all know about fast food, right? And the cheaper the products, the everyone can get them. And fast food's been forever there. We've always had fast foods. I don't remember the word without fast food. I don't know, maybe they appeared maybe like 50 years ago. But there's been this movement of slow foods in last probably 20 years. People putting emphasis of better quality, enjoying the meal, taking products that are more expensive, take time to prepare, where we actually can stop and have a meal and enjoy ourselves. and then pay attention to what we eat, how we eat, so we're not this ever consuming machine of super cheap stuff that's good and affordable and right there on our plates. Don't you agree?
I agree totally.
Yeah.
I think we stop on doing the right thing.
Mm.
A good example is planting flowers, in a natural state. It takes time. It's a process. There's a science of creation and process. But as a human being, we take as much as we can, our stomach, our mouth, not knowing what the consequences are. For example, eating by using the mouth, we should use our teeth normally.
Yeah.
One of the strongest bones in the body. But a lot of people, because of time pressure, they don't even chew it. Maybe once, twice, and then they swallow it and they let the stomach do the chewing and digesting. So they bypass the process. It's almost like getting a vending machine. Everything is processed. Everything is for economic reasons, not for nutrients, not for much of health, and not much for the longevity of the cycle of the eco balance.
Okay, that leads us to another question that I think is quite important here. What do you think about consumerism? What effect does this endless hunger have on us, on all of us, globally, on you, on me, on our viewers? And what can we do about it?
Well, I think I'll answer first the effect, the impact.
Mm.
Well, the impact, the major impact would be the health.
Yeah.
Of ourselves, our people, and the next generation. And there could be a study. I think there's a study. There could be a sort of an effect on the DNA because the habits we do impacts the environment. What we bring in and what we do as output impacts the ecological balance. So the more we manufacture, for example, we buy more food we don't really eat, so it will go to waste. Meanwhile, we don't know how to handle the waste sometimes. Plastic, for example, we just throw it in the trash can and we forget the whole thing. We forget about the process. Meanwhile, we are supporting the economic movement of people who's got money. They want to manufacture more, bigger factories, more equipments. It drives technology, but it drives technology with less quality of food or less quality of commercialism or product or the essence of quality of a living composition in our lives. And the impact would be, of course, the climate change. One example will be the rising oceans. The water rises up. When it rises up, it will flood the cities. It will affect the aquifer, which is essentially the level of water, the potable water we drink. It will get contaminated. It's science, it's physics. So the one way to stop it is to have a manufacturing sense with less, I think, less use of the resources, more consciousness and more awareness of what we're doing, and listening to scientists more and more often. Not just once, not just 1, 2 conventions, but more often.
Yeah. But would you agree that art and artists can play important role in changing social habits? About this consumption, destruction of the environment. Do you think?
Yes, art art form is a very very powerful tool.
Mm.
I will borrow a quote by, I think it's Oscar Wilde. Life imitates art. I think if you look deeper, yes, it's true. We follow what's out there. For example, Dolce Gabbana. Why do we have to wear Dolce Gabbana? We could just use something else. But it's a promotion of a form of commercialism or consumerism for the consumers because they want to be somebody else like somebody else. Because of the advertisement, what we see when we walk away, when we inside of the house or outside of any confinements, even on the phones, it's the advertisement. The advertisement itself is an art form. It's a very powerful thing. Now, I did a collage. It's the same concept. The people will draw into the art, and that's the power of art. That can change the mind on the way we think.
Can start discussion, maybe, about issues.
Yes, start discussion, and also I think there should be a collaboration with medicine and scientific researchers on the impact globally on the buying, the consumer part of the cycle, or more cautious. More social consciousness is needed. It can change. There's a huge impact to carry the message.
You spoke about Dolce Gabbana, but then there's this issue that I would compare Dolce Gabbana to slow food instead of fast food. If you buy an outfit from, let's say, Dolce Gabbana, this is not a product placement, we're not there, but if you do, you pay a lot of money for it, so you will not use it once, you will use it for a long time, this product, because it was so expensive, and you know that it was made in a country of origin, let's say in Italy, right? When you buy a t-shirt that costs you $1, because probably there are t-shirts like that, you don't know it was made. You assume that it's been made somewhere in Asia, and then you will not take care of this t-shirt because you didn't spend that much money on it. And then still advertisement on it, because this is the product that's like, fast food. This is this $1 burger, right? So we can consume more of these t-shirts that we don't know what sort of impact they have on the environment. Probably not the best, because there's so many of them. If you have clothes that are of use for 1 week or 1 day, they just destroy the environment more than, I guess, this Dolce Gabbana. Never had anything by Dolce Gabbana. I'm not this kind of person. Don't have money for it. But if I had, who knows?
I agree. I may have used a different example.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
But I think there's certain quality in some products.
Mm.
But I think it goes back to the human behavior. For example, a person will buy a Dolce Gabbana shirt or dress, but don't eat the quality food that the body needs in exchange. So I think I advocate balance. Balance is very important because it's it's almost like a straight line. Nothing is in favor of anything. I think there are some ripples, but at the same time, the effect is better. It's long lasting.
Yeah.
I think balance is very important. It's like buoyancy in water. If you're too heavy or any object, then it will probably likely would sink. I'm just getting an example here, but it's simple. But I think it goes further. I agree with you. You buy quality materials or food or dress or element or object to reuse more often, which is fine, which is excellent. But at the same time, the balance is tilt. You may not be eating other things what's more important for the body, for to be healthy. So you spend more time, going to the doctor because you can't, you have the stress to pay Dolce Gabbana because it was so expensive.
Poor Dolce Gabbana. Oh yeah. Okay, let's talk more about your artworks, and then the impact that your art might have on the audiences. So what inspires you, and how do you think your art will inspire the audience? And how would you like your art to inspire the audience if we assume that artists have an effect on people's behaviors? And because you speak, people see your message, people see your artwork, it will resonate with them. What would you like them to feel, and then what inspired you to create this artwork and your artworks in general?
What inspires me, I think many things inspires me because of the advocacy I have. I think I mentioned that I reuse the materials. Sometimes I teach students that you don't have to buy expensive, products or paper, even though it's good quality. You could use brown paper or brown bags to experiment art with not costing a lot of money. For example, using the brown bag from the groceries, then I would probably use acrylic as a paint. Watercolor doesn't work, that's fine, but you could use gouache. It's a form of watercolor. It's more thick. But I think the most important thing is the process. It's the experience as an artist and opening options, the possibilities of art creation, which is very important. Because art should be free. It should be free, that it should go by itself without being controlled. I'm not sure if I answered your question fully.
Yeah, I think you kind of did. But then what sort of reaction would you like from the audience, from your viewers, to have when they see your art, when they confronted with your art? Because it's what you say to your students is it's you talking to them, right? When you personally talk to them, when you show your art to the audiences, right? What sort of, is there any reaction that you would like them to have, or you just leave it and then you say that's great, whatever they feel, however they react to this, it's great?
No, I add more layers.
Yeah.
I think the number one is the purpose, the clear intention of the art. Even though I say that art is free, but there's always an intention. So the intention sometimes is more important than the art, because art becomes subjective. But the intention is more global, more universal. So the intention is advocacy to control commercialism, to control overspending on things of less quality, and not to be wasteful. Because one of the significant observations I had in my other artwork in exhibitions, which I use brown paper bags and a lot of wrappers from food, they recognize oh wow, you could do artwork without buying anything. Just going into your kitchen, going into your desk, and recycling what you have. And I think that's the message that we should not waste. We should use our resources uh, with the intention of the balance. And I think I promote experience. The more you experience, the more the artist experiments, which I advocate, the more they will realize what's important in their art and what they can use in their artwork. And there's a power in the process of experience. There is.
I know.
It may not be defined, but sometimes we don't have to define a lot of things in art. Just the experience. I think that sort of becomes the intent. It's fun. And one should enjoy the doing, because that is sort of the one chapter in life that's important. We should enjoy what we're doing, and there are no boundaries.
So, art is free. Is there any place you would like to show your art? Any place in the world to spread your message? If you'd like to see your art somewhere, because if we think that art and artists can inspire audience to change their behaviors, what shall we do? Shall we should actually put your art and everybody's art everywhere, right?
Yes.
Yeah. More public. But if we do public work, if we put artworks everywhere, do you think this message will somehow disappear in all the messages that are there? Am I communicating now?
I think, to answer your question, going back to me, what do I expect?
Mm.
What do I prolong, or I should say, let the world know? I think the world know about the art, not just my art.
Yeah.
I'm only one segment. I'm a product of the world of art. So I think it has to do with the news. There should be a news, for example, I'm going to say CNN or World News or BBC, a segment even for 1 minute about the power of art. And this segment of, what you have in your museum on the aspect or intent of endless hunger should be published not only on CNN, but also on paper and also on cell phones, on news. It's very important. I think art is a relief. It's a relief of the tension and stress of news around the world. We don't use art as a relief. We need to support art more to make people think more about, happiness. I think art is a one way to get into being happy, or at least less stressful, less violence. There's always should be a relief, which is very important.
Mm. Yeah, I always thought of the art as a very specific space. Let's call it space where if I confront it, I stop and I think about what is there, how does it affect me, what it means to me, and how can I translate it into my experiences. So yeah, but you know what? We've had this. We've been talking about environment as the word for last 40 years. People started talking about the effects of economics or this consumption, this endless consumption, the speed, global warming for such a long time, 4 decades, right? And it hasn't stopped. We haven't stopped. We keep on talking, we keep on protesting, we keep on discussing it. Do you think it's, can you see something changing in the narrative? The fact that we talk about it more, we're more serious about it. Do you think it's changing?
Yeah, I think it's changing, but I think it's changing very slowly. I think it goes back to the human behavior. If we are not affected physically or emotionally, we don't really take much of an action. For example, if we feel pain in our arm, we'll do something about it. It's the experience of pain. But if we don't, we don't experience it, then we may forget it. Maybe it will be tomorrow. Or if it's our neighbor, we don't think about the immediate action. But if it's us or a family member, then yeah, we will have to take more action. But it's been very slow. I think it has to do with the policies of the government, together with funding of people who's got money, or companies should support, again, the balance, or which is the right thing to do. I think there is hope. But again, the question is putting the right people in place. And implementation is very important. Talk is important, but I think there should be action behind it, which is implementation. I think part of the human behavior, we always find excuses than solutions.
Yeah. And if I can say anything, it's just I do hope. I always have a little bit of hope for everything, but I do hope that maybe if we globally discuss it, if we globally protest, because this climate protests started recently, but they are global, right? They I don't know if they happen in Las Vegas. They happen in Las Vegas.
Oh yes, very, very much so. Yes, it happens here. Yes.
So this is something that, because I think it's mostly very, very young people, 16, 17, 18, 20-year-olds. And they know that what we've been doing, what we do, with what my parents, did, my grandparents did, what I did, what I've been doing, has an effect on how the quality of their life when they are my age, my mom's age, my grandma's age. So this is one thing, and I really hope they will change the world. But then I also hope that the fact that we take it seriously, and there's so much wonderful art that talks about it, because art is so powerful. It's such a powerful tool of communication, and art is forever. We've always been creative. We've always been communicating with future generations, and we look at the past, we look at the art, and we see how we used to be. So, art is forever, and when we all gone, that's what's last. So I think this is a very powerful tool to see where we are at this very moment in time, when artists like you create art about consumption. It shows you, but it also shows where we globally are, how we think about it, where in discussion we are, what we are saying, and what is important enough to turn into art.
Yeah, there is always contradiction. It will always have contradiction in many ways. I think one way to educate the world is to integrate the global warming, or the change that we have to do For example, on the endless hunger, it should be part of the curriculum of in school of students. The younger generation, I think the younger generation has more capacity to absorb, to be sort of a conscious. The conscious world is the next generation. It's always the next generation because the next generation is what we work for. And then again, it's a cycle. If we would put more emphasis in education of kids, children, and integrate art and sciences into the adaptation of the effect of climate change, if we don't do things, then most likely they would be advocates. By the time they get to a higher schooling or age, then it may be harder to change them because they become philosophical. And then they've been contaminated already by commercialism or, the wrong way. So I think in the younger age is more important. For example, if we would produce coloring books or books for kids, the integration of the global change or the impact of the environment, and that will sink in because the kids will talk about it, so as with the teacher, because the children would always ask the question why, out of curiosity, why and why and why. And sometimes those questions are hard to answer. But we have to be clear of the impact to the children. And I think that's one way to do it. It doesn't cost a lot of money. I mean, but there will always be contradiction. There's always going to be tension because people don't want change. Again, it goes back to the behavior. Because change sometimes is more work.
It is. It's
But
it's difficult, right?
it's only difficult when people think it's of change is difficult. But things are changing without us thinking. It's, if you throw a plastic container in a trash can, it will go somewhere else. Or you throw it in the ocean, it affects the fish, it affects the marine life. It's the consciousness of being aware. I think that's one way to explore the possibility, and I think it will be successful if we ingrain or train children in school or in any form of education to be aware of what to do next. Very important. They become more intelligent sometimes than the parents.
I mean, that's how it's supposed to be, right?
That is what it's supposed to be.
That's how we always hope for. Yeah, I'm thinking if people that watch us, if you guys have any questions, there's a way of sending us questions, so we'll be able to maybe talk about it. Just in case, because well, it's been wonderful 40 minutes. We have a few more minutes, so if you guys have anything to ask, this is the time. Please do. I'm thinking. Right now, you've been working with packaging, advertising, using these as materials. Is there any other recyclable material that you would be interested as an artist to work with? Is there something that you don't like, or something that you think, I don't know, would be unethical or difficult? Or
what's been difficult for me is to, for example, the use of plastic.
Yeah.
The plastic has been very useful to us in many ways, but it's the effect in the environment And at the same time, when I do my artwork, I use plastic not to, and then I would say don't use plastic to waste, but I'm using the actual material. So I think that's difficult for me because I advertise something and yet I use something that's bad. For example, I would say, don't waste, don't waste, I would say don't waste food. But at the same time, I have a sticker on my artwork, extra large, and it's plastic.
It is.
But somebody can ask the question, why am I using plastic? Why not paint it or draw it? But I think there's an essence of effectivity of the actual material, you know, to put in the artwork to make it real. And also, in my other artwork, I've done a mixed media collage. I've used rope or the string, a hemp rope. I've used a mesh. I wish I could show it to you. A mesh is for the drywall to
Okay.
make any damage to the wall called drywall. It's like a chalk material. You could put it together. It's a beautiful material because it sticks. When it gets wet, it goes back again and it sticks. But it's made of fiberglass. But I
Okay.
use it in my artwork. So there's always this contradiction of reusing materials, and yet I'm saying it's bad at the same time. That is difficult.
But
And
I think it's also interesting if you think about the lifespan of your artworks, because if you use plastic and paper and paint, they will last for a different time. So let's say in 2000 years, some materials will just disappear, right? And some will stay there
yes,
forever as a part of your artwork. If you think about, the timeline of your artwork, when we all done, we're not here anymore, some of it will be there, just like all this plastic that we leave, then your plastic will be the one that's, part of a message. Don't use plastic, or be careful, be aware of what you use. I think it's pretty interesting.
it is a contradiction. When I was doing the artwork of the person sitting down in my artwork, so I'm being careful that the person is not too fat, too big, and because if it's too fat, then the viewer will look at the person as so much fat, and it loses the message of the consumer eating too much food. And so there's always a contradiction, but that is art, that is life, to bring out the message. And I know sometimes it is offensive. My artwork is offensive for people because there's people who really eat too much eating. They don't even chew; they just swallow. I think it affects them because it's their behavior.
Yeah,
Eh,
I think somebody might find it offensive, but
Yes.
then you get offended because you can't control your behavior. Everybody can get offended by absolutely everything. So whatever you do, whatever we do, whatever we say, however we dress, however we talk, somebody will get offended. And the thing about art is art's supposed to be free. Art's supposed to, touch us in different ways, because that's art. This is something, you know, above us, beyond us, something that exists outside of language and culture. And then
Yes.
we can so easily communicate with art. So
Yes.
I wouldn't feel bad that somebody might get offended by your art, especially the it over spotlight because it's so funny. It's really
so funny.
humorous. It's I can't see how, because I feel like I see myself there as well sometimes, especially if we're talking about cherries or like seasonal fruit. That's me. This is me. But do I get offended? No.
But when I was also doing art, this particular art, I thought that it should be put in every doctor's office. No, I'm serious. Again, the contradiction, if the doctor prescribes medicine for a person to be healthy, the power of art, such as this, what I did, I think, has to a vocal message to the patient or patient to be to avoid overeating,
Yeah.
and eat quality food.
And stop
But
and relax.
yeah, and very important, yes. And I think everyone wants to feel good. Everyone wants to feel better. Everyone wants to feel the energy. So it's important to pay attention to the food we eat because that's critical. It's part of creation. Like you've heard about what you eat becomes who you are, and so was the art. You see yourself in the mirror. Some.
Okay. I will have to be quite aware of the time. We've been talking for almost 50 minutes. I
Wow.
can't. Yeah. Time flies. Time flies when we have an interesting person to talk to, I suppose. This is how we can think of. I can't see any questions, but if there are no more questions, I think we should be heading towards the end. Is there any finishing statement you would like to end this conversation today?
Well, I think I'd like to thank you, Carolina, and your group. Of this sort of a branch of anthropology. This is a form of scientific history. We pause and we think about how our evolution, our civilization is taking place. A lot of people go to Pompeii. I'm giving an example, or go to the Louvre Museum to look at art, and that's how powerful it is. And advertisement is a very strong form of art. They've used art for economic reasons, and that triggers the buying and the endless hunger because of the form of art. So I think overall, I'm hoping and I think things will change in terms of the process of globalization. I mean, everybody is affected of this. No one is isolated. For example, myself, we might be practicing, good endless hunger, but if I don't tell my brother, my sister, my mother, it will affect everybody else. I think it's our duty to say it and educate people. But this has been a great opportunity of sort of it's not really a cutting edge or avant-garde. I think this is a new form of avant-garde in art. Maybe it doesn't exist yet, but I think it's already existing. Well, because we define avant-garde as something of a new art, but
Yeah.
this is a new art. I think of this as a new form of art. It's to bring the message out. And I think you have a clear message. It doesn't have to be abstract, or it can be abstract, but it's clear. I think that's important, very important to bring out the message to people. It could be abstract, but it has to be clear. It has to be clear. People don't want to think. So I think I'm thankful that by accident I found this out of this beautiful exhibition. You know, when the person, an artist, do art for painting, for example, so it stops there. So the bottom line is goes to the exhibition to be exhibited. I think what you've got here, your group, WMA, extends over. It's a lifesaver. It changes the world.
We hope to change the world. But
It will
yeah, but
change.
we have to discuss it, and we have to talk about it. We have to be part. We want to be part of this public discourse about who we are, what we leave behind, what can we do, and then we will try to work with the artists that talk about the environment, about our experience and how we do things and what we can do. And if guys that are watching this, if you still haven't seen the exhibition and you still haven't seen Cesare's work, please come, get on our website, get lost in this cornfield, walk around, look around, find the art, stop and think about it and enjoy. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And
Thank you so much.
and then I think this is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.